all of you in this summit. Friends, how this idea came in our mind actually. 3 months before, just 3 months before, we organized one large co-lending summit in Mumbai, where we invited bankers, the financiers, and the other stakeholders. And I was talking to one of the very senior banker, the MD of the bank, that what is the current situation in the proposals or credit proposals and the whatever you are doing. He said that 50% of the credit proposals are coming in the green finance or green sectors actually. We are not understanding what to do actually, because it's very difficult for us to cater all these proposals, because we are not having that much exposure limits from the RBI. That is one challenge which we are facing. Then another thought he gave, that EV is one of the area where we are still not understanding whether this will go or will not go actually, and we are very difficult for us to underwrite that product also. So this idea came from there only, that why can't we organize summit where we can invite all the stakeholders together, whether bankers, financial institutions, or the investors and the industry, and should discuss and interact. I believe that it's not a very big event for all of us, but every efforts done by AFAI will help to, I think, make aware the entire ecosystem that whatever we are doing, we have to do it in such a manner where the government of India target or net zero target we can achieve as early as possible. So that idea came from there, and then we started working, and the AFAI team had done very hard work. And in last 3 months, I met with almost 50 financial institutions and the banks. And I could see that everybody want to do funding the finance to these organizations, to the industry. And then we could meet with the industry members, also industry developers and the entire ecosystem service providers and all. They are saying that they are feeling challenges in terms of getting funding from the financial institutions. When I could meet with the REC or the PFC and other institutions, they have large targets. If you see their announcement, they have big targets for funding in the green finance sectors actually. So this is one area where we thought let us work on it and try to do something. We have prepared some small video which is keeping in mind the whatever happening in our country and what is our target also. So I request to the Evi to please start this video.
Extreme weather events and disrupted ecosystems. The consequences are not just environmental, they are economic. Floods, wildfires, and droughts are causing billions in damages, threatening industries, agriculture, and human health. The world cannot afford inaction. Urgent and decisive steps must be taken. To transition away from fossil fuels, invest in renewable energy, develop sustainable infrastructure, and build climate-resilient industries. At the heart of this transformation lies green finance, the key to mobilizing capital for clean energy projects, sustainable development, and climate-friendly innovations. Nations worldwide have pledged to achieve net zero emissions, with India setting 2070 as its target. This ambitious commitment requires $10 trillion in investment to accelerate decarbonization. This is only possible if all of us come together to work toward the same goal. The time to act is now. Let us come together to change our future. Because the choices we make today will define the world our children inherit. Let it be a world filled with hope, clean air, and endless possibilities, not regret.
So friends, if we see the overall target for 2030 in the climate investment map is something around $756 billion are required in various sectors of the climate finance. And out of that, we see that this solar and all are going very well, and things are happening. But there are areas which are of concern. So I will say that this battery energy storage and the green hydrogen, these are the two areas which need to keep their attention, so that they can also get the adequate funding for the sector. The next slide. Yeah, so if we see in 2030, what are the gaps which we are seeing in the current situation. So energy efficiency we have discussed, and the small nuclear and biogas, these are the areas which need to be focused because capital is still short for them. And the VC and the PE funds for the new sectors, they should come forward and they should invest in these sectors. So we have organized one session which is mainly for the climate clean tech unicorns or clean tech companies where the many VCs are coming and they will discuss about their thought on that actually. Yeah, next slide. So we see practically funding gap. It is again on the electric mobility, waste recycling, all the areas are there which need to be focused. Yeah, next slide. So startup ecosystem, it is I think very important, which we need to keep in mind because without a startup ecosystem, we cannot achieve the climate goals what we are thinking. Yeah, next slide. So investment in the by the family offices, angel funds and all, if you see, they are also gearing up. So it's a small baby steps will also help us to get the funding for this sector, and the initial stage funding will help to grow them. Yeah, next slide. So we see this slide out of 35 largest banks, 14 banks have disclosed their sustainable financial details on their websites. And if you see that there is still big gap actually, almost 60% banks have not still shown their sustainable financial details. So this is required. As per the IIM Lucknow study, shifting lending to non-carbon intensive sector can lower default risk, and a critical mass of green asset lending is required for an optimized credit portfolio. And next slide. So India's policy push for green finance and sustainability. The government and RBI is taking a lot of steps. So the priority sector lending is one of the key initiative which has been taken by the RBI. Sovereign green bonds, which are already being issued by 3-4 times by the Government of India. And if you see the green bank, which is a new thing which has been discussed some time before, this can also help. Then the other initiatives like blended finance and the sovereign guarantee or the partial guarantee schemes, that can also help to get more and more funding for these sectors, which can create a lot of confidence of the financiers and investors. The next slide. So if you see that institutions like PFC, IFCL, REC, they have announced many initiatives. So, as an example, the PFC has announced the blended finance with the World Bank. Then the REC has also raised some green bonds, and the Gift City initiative has been taken by IREDA. So, there are institutions, those are trying at their level to fund the sector to meet out the requirement of the green finance, and we believe that with the small initiative of AFAI, this can help to get something in the ocean, something tip on the iceberg. But doing such kind of initiatives will definitely help to the sector. And I request to all of you, please stay back with us for the entire day. We have a lot of dignitaries from the various areas. The AFAI are also coming from ADB, and the other institutions are also coming. They will speak about the developmental finance from their point of view, and they will discuss about the global journey also. So thank you so much.
There is a queue up for homologation at our national testing centers. New vehicles are being rolled in, new leadership network is coming, new export tie-ups are going on, and that is how electric mobility is moving forward. Let me put it this way, that this is going to stay in a very, very robust, fast-track mode. And very soon you would see that, in multiple streams, new business models are also coming. So, in battery as a service model, you see it has taken off, and it has again brought about a lot of changes, a lot of transition. My expectation from an expert group like this, that is putting together for the entire day, is that can we identify 2 or 3 major unlocks that can sort out the problem, the challenges of financing in the stream of, let's say, electric mobility. So a year before last, I persuaded Citi and based on that, they created a mission, what they called Mission for EV, Mission for Eco EV 50,000. So I persuaded them that 2 and 3 dealers, because that is an area where it is most difficult to get finances, where the challenges are more there, where sometimes, when they go over to NBFCs, it becomes very, very usurious kind of rate of interests are there. So can they kind of support this 50,000 kind of vehicles? So, of course, they have their own challenges. I'm giving you this to you as an example. So they asked for creating some sort of, loss risk sharing instrument, first loss risk sharing instrument kind of thing. And that was created with the help of multiple philanthropic organizations. Shell was opening, Rockefeller was there, and they also identified that in that how the multiple layers could be there. So far, 35,000 vehicles have been supported. And that risk share instrument has not got a single hit. So I'm just trying to tell you that probably to the finance institutions, it also requires a little bit of leap of faith, what I may call, to get into this stream. And yes, so rightly said by Raja Jaishankar, that a lot of blended finance is there, a lot of equity with sustainability is there. Those things will have to be there, only then we should be able to pull it off. Gradually, in the commercial stream, you will be watching that more and more vehicles will be getting into the stream. So we are involved in the PM e-drive, we are supporting, PM electric trucks are being supported, cargo vehicles are now getting more and more, buses are participating in the public transport, and those supported and those without support, they are also getting forward. So these could be the areas. Charging infrastructure is another big area, because if we have to take it forward, we have to think of charging infrastructure and the placements in big numbers. All right. How can we go in for a kind of, let's say, 1 million charging station in the country? So that is the big number that we are looking at. We are watching a new trend that new leasing partners, new operators, they are getting into the stream. So earlier it was the OEM, it was the user, now the leasing players are there. So they are offloading the kind of pressure that was there on the OEM to finance the vehicles, and that is how it is going forward. So we have got transports, we have got BNEs, they are getting into the stream, and they are and number of logistic those who are into the logistic stream, they are getting into this play. So for example, you see, I can say that if Ultratech uses, let's say, 60,000 vehicles a day, what percentage of it can be transformed to electric as fast as possible? And if so, who is going to the provider? Because the interest of the user is very clear. They want the cost of logistics to come down. So if there is a partner who says that, okay, whatever your freight outflow was there, I am ready to reduce it by, let's say, 5% or 7%, then it is sorted. From one end it is sorted. But at the end of it, I am watching that all these players are looking towards financing. Financing, and we know that what all challenges are there, how the tenure and how about the loan to value ratio and what are all those things, how the NBFC, the higher cost of finance for the NBFCs, all these issues are there. So maybe by the end of the day, I'm not sure about how the November conclave was there. If you could suggest 3 or 4 major unlocks that should be there, probably we will be sorted. And from NITI side, it is very need to take it forward and ensure that we can take it forward.
Namaskar and good morning to everyone. really a privilege to be here and discussing a very relevant topic, which is going to be important not only today, but also for the coming decades for our country, for our economy as well. So this energy transition is a transformation which is not only towards maintaining the environment sustainability or enhancing the environment sustainability, but also for economic resilience and national security. Because energy security, in my view, is the most important part. Any time when we talk about energy transition, energy security cannot be compromised. But at the same time, the focus on energy transition has to be adhered to. So, by the meaning of energy transition, we always feel that we have to shift it from fossil fuel-based energy generation to non-fossil fuel-based, something like solar, wind, and other biomass kind of generation. But important thing is, where we need to focus more is on decarbonization. And decarbonization can happen not only with the installation of renewable energy, but also with the energy efficiency methodology, which you can put in our industry. Because we all know that industry is a major source of pollution, where a lot of carbon emission happens. If you are able to put forth a mechanism through which we actually do energy efficiency, we bring in energy efficient technology, where the power consumption and the heat consumption can be optimized, that would serve a long way towards decarbonization. Ours is the fastest growing economies in the world, and we have to play a crucial role, and we have been mandated like that by our leadership. And accordingly, we have set a very ambitious target for ourselves. In by December 2024, the total installation in renewable energy is something like 210 gigawatt, which I think there is a progressive increase in the installation of renewable energy. But I think a misnomer which has actually happened, that when we talk about green energy, then we only talk about the generation part. We do not talk much about the equipment which is required for generating this solar, wind, or battery and other things. So there is a huge requirement for supporting the equipment manufacturing, which is the motive for Make in India. Because now, as we see that in recent time, the way world has divided onto this particular aspect, the manufacturing sector also has to be supported. So, for getting this energy transition, in my view, I feel that the investment is not only required in setting up the power generation or transmission or distribution, but also the equipment manufacturing. So, I think a lot of people have already, my previous speakers have already touched upon many a thing about that what is our immediate goals, short-term goals, long-term goals by 2070, net zero, and other thing. But and I think the focus which has emerged mostly on the finances which are required. So yes, we all are very much sensitive towards that. And PFC as an institution, we feel that lenders have to play a major role. So PFC as an institution, we have been very sensitive towards that, and we must tell you that very recently we have supported 500 crore for a charging infra. So we are aware of that. What are the requirements in the funding space, lending space, to support the energy initiative, green energy initiative, which will actually support us towards that energy transition. And also, we are very much sensitive towards the energy efficiency part. And specifically for that, we have set up a separate cell for energy efficiency. Wherever energy efficiency projects, proposals which are required, we have supported. Even we talk about that EVs. So we take pride that we have supported EVs buses in UP, in Maharashtra. We have also supported Blue Smart, which is flying on the roads of national capital region. So and an institution has to play a role, and finance is such a field that I always consider that it is a very innovative field. You always need to improvise, considering the requirement by the industry, by the developers or entrepreneurs, what do they require, and how, and it evolves with the passage of time. The kind of repayment tenor, the kind of like structuring, another thing, and important thing for a lender is like the cost of fund. And I think our previous speakers have already touched upon blended finance and also public-private partnership.
I don't think there is any need to emphasize or talk more about the need for green financing or climate positive action. I think दिल्ली वालों से ज़्यादा शायद कोई नहीं जानता होगा हर साल आप जो पॉल्यूशन झेलते हैं और 2024 इंसिडेंटली वाज पिछले 75 इयर्स का हॉटेस्ट ईयर था वर्ल्ड के लिए और जिस तरीके से 2025 शुरू हो रहा है मतलब मार्च शुरू ही हुआ है तो 2025 is going to be again the hottest year recorded. So the need is yesterday and we are already very behind. On the positive side, I definitely, you know, as a infrastructure financing professional, I feel good about what has happened in India. I remember 2012 was the first time I did a non-recourse solar project financing in the country. And in 2025 January, we have done about 125 gigawatt approximately. So from 0 to 125 we have come, and this has required maybe on a thumb rule basis about 4-5 lakh crore minimum worth of financing. And at that time we had these questions that from where will the financing come, but it has come, and this is where we are. But if we see where we have to go, and if we talk about net zero 2070, then India is talking about 7,700 gigawatts. So where, I mean, it's unimaginable. We have done about a very small part of where we need to go, and this is, you know, this is not just for power consumption, this is for all the industries which will use green energy and then, you know, work on abatement so that we meet our net zero target. So, and the investment, I think it was mentioned in the first address that we need about $10 trillion for green energy alone. And our very ambitious plans till now has been NIP, which is $1.5 trillion, you know, which is for all the infrastructure sectors. And this is only about green energy. So it's a very, you know, steep road ahead. And I would probably like to focus on one aspect and just share that what is the biggest challenge and what is it that probably we can do about it. See, the challenge in Indian infrastructure financing is that today infrastructure financing, and I am talking about debt financing, 55% of entire infrastructure financing is done by non-banks in India. All the banks put together do 45%. All the venerable big names, they put together contribute 45, and 55 comes from non-banks. And these non-banks, there are only 7 in number. Today, there are 10,000 NBFCs in India, only 7 of them are what is called as NBFC IFC, Infrastructure Finance Company. So Asim is one of them. And out of those 7, we have representation from 4 here. So I think that is the problem, which is very evident at this point itself. And out of these 7, Asim today is the only NBFC IFC which is not managed by Government of India. I mean, even though we have capital support from Government of India, but we run like a private sector company. So everything else is, so government has been doing the heavy lifting almost entirely in this sector, and it is not, I mean, the answer is very obvious that government funding alone, however supportive government has been, is not going to be able to, you know, take us where we want to. So if I were to focus on one single factor which we need to solve for is the private and global capital coming into Indian infrastructure debt financing. It has already happened on the offtake side, right? Deshant is there, India's largest electric buses producer. So private sector is there on the client side also. There is a significant private sector which is there, but on the lending side, you don't see private sector today. So I think the challenge we need to solve for, and very quickly, and Mr. Sinha, I think we will need a lot of help from Niti Aayog, is that we need to figure out that what's the role of public sector and where does private sector come in. Because if both are doing the same thing, in a way competing with each other and not doing different things. So capital which comes from government, which comes from country is very, very precious. And we need to focus on how do we leverage this to be able to bring more investment. So if I were to oversimplify a problem, let's assume the entire capital which government has allocated is used for trade investment rather than lending. Then you could probably generate maybe 20 times of that amount of capital from the same pool, because then we are doing the downstream activities happening from the private capital. India has done a great job in reducing the risks in the sector. I don't think people today talk about what they used to talk 15 years back, that infrastructure financing is very risky. Out of this 5 lakh crore which I said, there is zero loss to the lenders in solar energy in India. Even housing finance does not have this kind of statistics. So we have done a lot to reduce risk, which is step one. Now we need to be very clear that what is the role of each one and what is it that we need to do, because if we don't do it, then we are not getting there. It's as simple as that. And capital all over the world is available in inverse proportion to the risk perception. So countries which have a low risk perception will attract hundreds of times more capital than the countries which have a higher risk perception. And risk perception comes from two parts. One is currency risk, which is still there, right, for any foreign investor coming into India. So we need to take that head on as to what are we going to do about this. And we need to also probably represent and socialize the risk reduction which has taken place in India in last decade or more than a decade. Is phenomenal, but the world does not know so much about it. Even Indian markets don't know so much about it. Till very recently, provident funds and insurance companies of our own country were not really comfortable financing infrastructure. So our own domestic capital also does not know to the extent the progress has been made in this, and that capital EPFO is one of the top 10 or 12 pension funds in the world. But how much of EPFO money is deployed in infrastructure? I think it's very, very little, very, very negligible. And we add to that how much of LIC money is there, how much of insurance sector money is there. So domestic capital also we have not fully tapped for this sector. Government has done frankly more than what they could have done. But I don't think, and this intervention has to happen at policy level. It will involve all the facets, including the incentives, including how do we do. And we don't, as a country, we don't need another example of how incentive works. When the first solar project I financed, the tariff was somewhere 17 rupees. Now that is incentive, right? If somebody can question why so much incentive needs to be given to somebody to put up, but that was the first time India was doing solar energy, and today we get tariff of 2 rupees and odd paisa thanks to those incentives which were given. So incentives have a very important role to play at the right time, and then of course then they don't have to be there, because then the industry picks up, and this is what has happened. Our solar tariffs are the least in the world. So we have already demonstrated. So the model is there, we need to just keep replicating that model very quickly and benefit from that. But without significant domestic private capital, public money coming into it, as well as if I were to just give one example, the financial newspapers are full every day about what is happening in the stock market and how capital gains tax should be reduced or ABCD to be done. So what is happening? The retail investor, a small investor money is going to the stock market, which is the highest risk category. The shares are the highest risk instrument. How much of that money is coming to, let's say, infrastructure, which is relatively the least risk instrument, which is where the small investor money should go. So look at the way we tax. We tax capital gains at 12.5%, but we tax income from bonds at the marginal rate of taxation, which could be as high as 30%. So where do our country's priorities lie, and where do we need to attract capital? So we have not yet attracted entire domestic capability and then foreign capital. We need all of it to be able to do $10 trillion, just for one goal which we need by 2070. So I think that there are strategic issues which need to be solved for. Without that, we have done great. We will still do very well, but I don't think we will be able to do what is required. And we are talking about saving ourselves and saving Earth and saving our future generations. We are not talking about any great goals other than survival of the mankind. So I think it's a pretty interesting road ahead, and I'm sure that we have solved many of the complex problems in the past, and we will do this again going forward. So thank you and good day.
Okay, I'm Vivek Devangan, CMD REC Limited. I would like to congratulate Association of Financial Advisors of India for organizing this day-long session on green finance, investment and achieving net zero ambition by the year 2070. I hope that deliberation in this day-long conference will prepare a practical roadmap for achieving our ambition of becoming net zero by the year 2070, and various facets of green finance and the investment would also be deliberated, because we have to provide customized solution to the requirement of the developers. That also, this aspect would be deliberated. My best wishes for Association of Financial Advisors of India.
I am Rajiv Ranjan Jha, Director Projects, Power Finance Corporation. So I would also like to congratulate AFAI for organizing this workshop on a very relevant topic, which is going to be very, very important in driving the Indian economy as well in coming years, coming decades. And I hope that on the conclusion of this workshop, there would be solutions which will be emerging to support the financing of energy transition, and also the objective of Government of India for installation of 500 gigawatt by the year 2030, and also for net zero by 2070. Thank you.
Sir, please, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, like, I am representing Niti Aayog, and AFAI, as we see, they have brought in a lot of experts together under one roof, and they are thinking that how to, take this financing, how to solve this financing issue, which is probably one of the most critical issues in the entire green transition that is taking place. As I said, my expectation is that if they can identify maybe and come back to us and identify 3 big unlocks, that will sort out this problem. Because otherwise, manufacturers are there are people who are into charging infrastructure, now we have operators, we have got the users at the end, and everybody is looking for finances. So after all, how to sort out the finance issue, that is the challenge. And I'm sure that the kind of configuration, the kind of people, the kind of themes that they are looking into, they will definitely come out with those solutions. And we will be very happy to take them forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Pankaj, please.
So I think everyone agrees that net zero commitment by 2070 is the minimum we need to be doing as a country, as a society, to be able to meet our climate goals. And the scale of investment required for that is humongous. Various estimates put it between 10 to 15 trillion dollars. And to do that, what we discussed and shared was that it is not enough that only government or public sector, which has been till now front loading these investments, including lending, there is a immediate need to encourage and bring in private sector, mobilize domestic capital from all sources, retail, pension and insurance, and also bring in global capital to the requirement of net zero. So I think these are the things we discuss, and we hope to actually continue working with Niti Aayog to see how do we incentivize more private and foreign capital coming into Indian debt financing for net zero goals. Thank you.
सर, जो भारत के जो जलवायु परिवर्तन है उनके लक्ष्यों को प्राप्त करने के लिए जो ग्रीन जो फाइनेंस है वो कितना इम्पोर्टेंट है?
ग्रीन फाइनेंस तो सबसे ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है, बिकॉज बाकी सारे टारगेट्स आप लगा लें, एक डिसरप्शन है पहले की स्थिति से। ये बिल्कुल एक नई स्थिति में आप लाना चाहते हैं। आप गाड़ियों को बदलना चाहते हैं, आप घरों पे जो हैं वो सोलर प्लांट्स, सोलर मॉड्यूल्स लगाना चाहते हैं, आप एनर्जी स्टोरेज सिस्टम्स नहीं लगाना चाहते। तो कंप्लीट डिसरप्शन है, और ये केवल डिसरप्शन एक जगह पर नहीं है, कंप्लीट एंड टू एंड जिसको कहेंगे, पूरे के पूरे वैल्यू चेन में डिसरप्शन है। नया वैल्यू चेन लगेगा, इसलिए उस स्थिति में फाइनेंस जो है वो हर एक स्टेप पर, जैसे स्टेशन की तरह समझिए, हर एक स्टेशन पर फाइनेंस की आवश्यकता होगी। यह फाइनेंस किस प्रकार से कम दर पर, कम इंटरेस्ट रेट पर आसानी से सुलभ हो सके, उसके बाद ही जो है ये ट्रांजिशन का सबसे बड़ा इनेबलर आप समझ लें वो ग्रीन फाइनेंस ही है।
सर, भारत को जो जलवायु परिवर्तन से जो जुड़े सबसे जोखिम के पहलू क्या होंगे जो ग्रीन फाइनेंस को इफेक्ट करेंगे?
नहीं, जो टारगेट्स जो हम लोगों ने बनाए हैं वे बड़े ही एस्पिरेशनल टारगेट्स हैं, और कई क्षेत्रों में जैसे इलेक्ट्रिक मोबिलिटी लीजिए, यहाँ पर केवल भारत यह नहीं चाहता कि हम केवल ईवी यूजिंग नेशन बने, हम यह भी चाहते हैं कि हम दुनिया का मैन्युफैक्चरिंग हब बने। अब उस स्थिति में आपका एस्पिरेशन और भी ज़्यादा है। जब उस तरह का हम एस्पिरेशन रखते हैं तो नेचुरली जो एफर्ट है, जो कमेंसुरेट एफर्ट है, वो फाइनेंस की तरफ से और भी ज़्यादा होना चाहिए। जैसा कि आपने सुना अभी कि केवल यह सरकार के पैसे से, टैक्स पेयर के पैसे से संभव नहीं है। इसके लिए तमाम तरह के ब्लेंडेड फिनांस, पीपीपी मॉडल्स, सारे मॉडल्स को लेकर के आना पड़ेगा, तभी इस चीज़ को हम आगे दिशा दे सकते हैं।
सर, नेट जीरो को 2070 तक हम कैसे अचीव कर पाएंगे? इसका रोड मैप क्या है आप लोगों का, और जो कार्बन एमिशन है उसको कम कैसे किया जा सकता है?
नहीं, जैसा
क्या चैलेंजेस है?
नहीं, 2070 तक जो हमने टारगेट रखा है, जो माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने जो कहा है, उसको अचीव करने के लिए जैसा हमने बताया कि जो इसमें सारे लोग जो मंत्रालय इन्वॉल्व हैं, सबों ने अपने छोटे छोटे जो हैं वो बना रखे हैं, रोड मैप्स बना रखे हैं, और उनको इंटीग्रेट करके ये भी बनाया जा रहा है कि कैसे इसको अचीव किया जाएगा। क्योंकि हर एक चीज़ केवल 2070 में नहीं दिखना है, एक उसके माइलस्टोन्स भी होने चाहिए कि 5 वर्ष के बाद हम कहाँ तक पहुँचेंगे, 10 वर्षों के बाद हम कहाँ तक पहुँचेंगे। इस प्रकार से एक माइलस्टोन दिखना चाहिए, वो पूरे का पूरा वो जो ट्रांजिशन है वो होते हुए होना चाहिए, करके दिखता चाहिए। इसलिए उसके लिए, और जो जैसा बताया आपने पूछा कि कई सारे उसके पूरा एक इकोसिस्टम है, हर एक चीज़ का एक पूरा का पूरा इकोसिस्टम आपको ग्रो कराना पड़ेगा। जैसे आप गाड़ियों की बात है तो उसके लिए मैन्युफैक्चरर इम्पोर्टेंट है, डिमांड होना चाहिए, स्टैंडर्ड स्पेसिफिकेशंस होने चाहिए, फाइनेंसिंग होनी चाहिए, रेगुलेटरी और पॉलिसी पर्सपेक्टिव होना चाहिए, पूरा का पूरा कंप्लीट इकोसिस्टम उसके लिए खड़ा होना चाहिए। इसके लिए फाइनेंस, जैसा हमने बताया, हर जगह पर वो इम्पोर्टेंट है। तो फाइनेंस के सपोर्ट के साथ और जो कमिटमेंट है, जो हमारा पॉलिटिकल विल है, इन चीज़ों के साथ निश्चित ही हम समझते हैं कि इसको हम अचीव कर लेंगे।
सर, आपने इलेक्ट्रिक मोबिलिटी की बात की, तो बट अभी बहुत सारे चार्जिंग पॉइंट्स ऐसे हैं जो रिन्यूएबल सोर्स बेस्ड नहीं है, उसको दूर करने के लिए गवर्नमेंट का क्या इनिशिएटिव, और क्या हमारे पास ऐसा कोई डाटा है जो अभी ये बता पाए कि एग्जैक्टली कितने ऐसे व्हीकल्स होंगे जो चार्जिंग स्टेशन के थ्रू जब चार्ज भी कर रहा है तो वो रिन्यूएबल सोर्स का यूज कर रहा है, ये नहीं कि सिर्फ वो ईवी यूज कर रहा है।
निशांत जी, यू कैन आल्सो टेक।
यस,
निशांत आर्या सर, बिकॉज़ आपका ज़्यादा हैंड्स ऑन एक्सपीरियंस है।
नहीं, इसमें एक्चुअली क्या है कि जब ग्रिड के अंदर हमारे पास लगभग अब 500 गीगावाट का पावर है ब्लेंडेड फ्रॉम ऑल डिफरेंट सोर्सेज, उसके अंदर मोर देन 1/3 पावर जो है रिन्यूएबल का है ऑलरेडी। तो ऑलरेडी जो पावर यूज़ किया जा रहा है चार्जर्स के अंदर वो 1/3 रिन्यूएबल है। बट डेफिनेटली जैसे आगे बढ़ती जा रही है गवर्नमेंट, तो उसके अंदर ओपन एक्सेस का पर्सपेक्टिव आ रहा है जगह जगह पे, एनर्जी स्टोरेज का आ रहा है, बिकॉज कई रिन्यूएबल सोर्सेज होते हैं जो कि रात को अच्छा प्रोड्यूस करते हैं, कई अच्छे होते हैं जो कि दिन में अच्छा प्रोड्यूस करते हैं। तो इसलिए राउंड द क्लॉक पावर चाहिए हर जगह पे। तो राउंड द क्लॉक पावर के लिए जो गवर्नमेंट का टारगेट है 500 गीगावाट का इस डेकेड के एंड तक 2030 का, उसके बेस पे काफ़ी बड़ा चेंज होगा और डेफिनेटली हम ऑलमोस्ट 50% के पास पहुंच जाएंगे। बट जब ईवी की बात करते हैं 2030 तक, पर जब ईवी की बात करते हैं तो जो ओपन एक्सेस और अलग अलग पॉलिसीज़ आ रही हैं उसके बेस पे काफ़ी फास्ट ट्रांजिशन होगा, बिकॉज ईवी एक बहुत बड़ा कंज्यूमर होगा पावर का, और वो रिन्यूएबल पावर जो ग्रिड में जाती है उसकी स्टेबिलिटी ही बढ़ाएगा।
एक सेकंड,
ये जो आपने कुछ अवार्ड्स की बात की है, इंडियन क्लाइमेट लीडर अवार्ड, इसके बारे में कुछ बताएंगे?
आशीष।
Yeah, so AFAI is a national body for the financial advisors of India, and this initiative which the AFAI taken for the Green Finance and Investment Summit. So the idea was just to recognize the people or the corporates those are doing wonderful in the green sector. So we have categorized awards in 5 categories. One is for financial institutions, mainly the banks and NBFCs. Those are doing well in the green finance sectors. Then we have categorized the another sector which is investor, because private equity and VC funds are very very important, because they are coming early in the any company or any organization for the growth of the organization, for the they are taking risk also. So they will be the another category of the award winner. And the third is the sector which is industry like solar, wind and hydrogen and biofuel. So these companies which are doing very well in the sector and they have demonstrated their performance, so they will be the winner of the awards. So and this is third category, and the fourth category is the company which are in EV sector actually. So EV is one of the core area for the growth of the logistic system in the future transportation. So the EV companies which are into passenger vehicle and the commercial vehicle. So we have divided in two parts. So they will be we have recognized those players, those are doing well. So we got something around 45 nominations from the different category of the companies or the financiers. Out of that, we are announcing 12 awards today in these categories, and we would like to congratulate to all of them who are the winner. But those are not the winner, they are doing well. Maybe next year they can get the award also.
खाली आशीष जी की बात को आगे बढ़ाते हुए, खाली हमारा ये गंतव्य था या मंतव्य था कि सर कि आज के दिन क्लीन टेक में बहुत कुछ काम करना बाकी है और बहुत सारी कंपनियां अच्छा काम कर रही है, और आप लोगों को सबको पता कि कितने लिमिटेड रिसोर्सेज में हम काम कर पा रहे हैं। हमारे पास अभी नई नई से टेक्नोलॉजी अभी इवॉल्व हो रही है, हमको सेक्टर हम ठीक से समझ रहे हैं, पॉलिसी मेकर को भी अभी तक पॉलिसी के बारे में ठीक से नहीं पता है, हम काम करते करते सीख रहे हैं। तो उसके अंदर में हमको नए जो यंगस्टर या नई जो कंपनियां जो इस तरीके के रिस्क टेकिंग एबिलिटी के अंदर आके जो अपना काम करना चाह रही है और इसको बढ़ावा दे रही है, तो हमें लगता है कि सर हम सबका एक साथ होना चाहिए कि हम उसको इनकरेज करें, इस तरह की मुहिम को इनकरेज करें और उन लोगों को एकदम इनकरेज करें कि सर कि इस तरह के आप एरिया में आइए, और ये तो हमारा और आपका भविष्य इस पर निर्भर करता है। यस सर।
जब हम ग्रीन फाइनेंसिंग की बात करते हैं, सर ने मेंशन भी किया कि अभी तक मेनली ये गवर्नमेंट बैक्ड है, प्राइवेट सेक्टर की रोल में उतनी नहीं है। तो गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से लाइक जो एक कंपल्सन अगर हम छोड़ दें, प्राइवेट सेक्टर में खुद से सेल्फ इंस्पिरेशन लाने के लिए क्या इस तरह की पॉलिसी इनिशिएटिव लिए जा रहे हैं कि वो खुद आगे आए कि हम वो ग्रीन फाइनेंसिंग में अपनी तरफ से फाइनेंस करें?
अभी तक
देखिए प्राइवेट सेक्टर में और गवर्नमेंट सेक्टर में एक बड़ा बेसिक डिफरेंस है कि जब गवर्नमेंट पीएसयू कोई बाज़ार में पैसा बोरो करने जाती है तो उसको कम रेट पे मिलता है, बिकॉज मार्केट को ये भरोसा है कि इसके पीछे भारत सरकार है। तो प्राइवेट सेक्टर जब जाता है बाज़ार में पैसा रेज करने, उसको पैसा महंगा मिलता है, राइट। तो अगर हम दोनों प्राइवेट सेक्टर और पब्लिक सेक्टर एक ही तरह का बिजनेस, एक ही तरह की डील को हम दोनों चेज कर रहे हैं, तो प्राइवेट सेक्टर प्रॉफिटेबल नहीं हो पाएगा उस हद तक जब तक जो उनको चाहिए, और अगर प्रॉफिटेबल नहीं होंगे तो कैपिटल कैसे आएगी, बिकॉज कैपिटल की कॉस्ट है दैट, वो कॉस्ट, तो ये जो गैप है इसको हमको ब्रिज करने के लिए एक बार तो इंसेंटिव देने पड़ेंगे कंट्री को। जब वो लोग आ जाएंगे, जब उनका ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड बन जाएगा, जब उनकी क्रेडिट रेटिंग अपने दम पर AAA हो जाएगी, तो वो भी उसी रेट पे बोरो कर सकेंगे जिस रेट पे PSU कर रहा है। लेकिन जो स्टार्टिंग डिसएडवांटेज है, और ड्यूरिंग दैट फर्स्ट 5 to 10 years व्हेन यू नीड ए सपोर्ट, दैट हैज़ टू बी स्ट्रक्चर्ड, यू नो, उसी के बाद जो है फिर वो, और एक बार प्राइवेट सेक्टर की एक खासियत है कि एक सक्सेसफुल कंपनी आ गई जिसने ये करके दिखा दिया और IPO कर दिया सक्सेसफुली, सब शेयर होल्डर्स का रिटर्न, सारे स्टेक होल्डर्स का अच्छा बना, उसके बाद 10 आएंगे अगले साल। ज़रूरत होती है एक रास्ता खोलने की, उसके बाद हमारे एंटरप्रेन्योर्स बड़े डायनामिक हैं, वो फटाफट उस चीज़ को टेकअप कर लेंगे। तो आई थिंक एक मॉडल, एक रास्ता निकालने की बहुत ज़रूरत है।
खाली सर की बात करते हुए, हम लोग रिसर्जेंट इंडिया लिमिटेड बोल के इंडिया की सबसे बड़ी फाइनेंशियल एडवाइजरी कंपनी है, जहाँ पे हम लोग लोगों को पैसा दिलाने में मदद करते हैं। मैं खाली अपना एक एक्सपीरियंस शेयर कर रहा हूँ लास्ट 5 साल के अंदर में, कि हमारे पास किस तरीके के क्लाइंट ज़्यादा आते हैं जो पैसा मांगने की बात कर रहे हैं। तो मैंने और आशीष जी ने अभी हमने मिलकर वो स्टडी कर रहे थे कि हमारे पास लगभग 60% क्लाइंट वो आ रहे हैं जो लोग आगे ग्रीन में इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहे हैं, और उन लोगों को पैसे की ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है। तो जैसे आपने कहा कि बहुत ही इंकरेजिंग साइन है, यदि आप देखेंगे कि बैंकों के पास भी किस तरीके के लोग जा रहे हैं जो ज़्यादा पैसा मांगने के लिए बात कर रहे हैं, तो उसके अंदर में भी बहुत खाली उसके अंदर में मेजॉरिटी प्रपोजल जो आ रहे हैं, बैंक के पास भी वही लोग जा रहे हैं जो लोग ग्रीन में कुछ इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहे हैं, और हमारे पास भी एज एन एडवाइज़र ऑल्सो वही लोग आ रहे हैं जो लोग ज़्यादा ग्रीन के अंदर इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहे हैं। तो लास्ट 2-3 साल से यदि आप देखते हो कि कहाँ पे पैसा प्राइवेट इन्वेस्टर कहाँ पैसा लगा रहा है, कहाँ से ज़्यादा माने लोग बिजनेसमैन कहाँ पे ज़्यादा इन्वेस्टमेंट करने की सोच रहे हैं, वो कहीं ना कहीं वो ग्रीन से रिलेटेड ही बिजनेस होगा, बिकॉज देन ओनली उसको भी पता है कि सर आगे जाके भविष्य यही है। बिजनेसमैन वहीं पैसा लगाता है जहाँ उसको लगता है कि जहाँ पे भविष्य वहीं है, मार्केट वहीं एग्जिस्ट करता है, सब कुछ वहीं एग्जिस्ट करता है।
इसमें थोड़ा सा ऐड करना चाहूँगा ज्योति जी की बात पे कि इसमें क्या हो रहा है कि एक तो है ग्रीन सेक्टर में लोग जा रहे हैं, दूसरा जो लोग ग्रीन सेक्टर में नहीं है वो अपने आप को ट्रांजिशन कर रहे हैं। तो वी कॉल्ड ट्रांजिशन फाइनेंस, जिसमें कि लाइक अभी 2 एग्जांपल मैं आपको देता हूँ। जेके टायर का नाम सुना होगा आपने, इंडिया की टायर की सबसे बड़ी कंपनी, काफ़ी बड़ी कंपनी है। उन्होंने अभी एक प्लांट लगाया है, वो ग्रीन टायर के लिए लगाया है उन्होंने, और उसमें एक $100 बिलियन उनको फंड किया है IFC, वर्ल्ड बैंक की जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, ओनली फॉर दी सस्टेनेबल बिजनेस विच दे आर डूइंग। तो अभी जो रिक्वायरमेंट है, हम एक तरफ तो हम बात कर रहे हैं ग्रीन फाइनेंस फॉर कंपनी विच आर इनटू ग्रीन, दूसरा सेक्टर है जो ऑलरेडी जो एस्टेब्लिश सेक्टर है उनको अपने प्रोसेस को ट्रांजिशन करना है। उसके लिए बहुत बड़ी रिक्वायरमेंट जो अभी तक हमने कैप्चर ही नहीं की है। दूसरी कंपनी है JSW, उन्होंने ग्रीन स्टील के लिए 10,000 करोड़ का इन्वेस्टमेंट का प्लान किया है। तो ये जो सेक्टर है, ये इट विल बी ए मिक्स ऑफ दैट। नए सेक्टर जो क्रिएट हो रहे हैं, EV में है या सोलर में है या ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन में है, लेकिन एग्जिस्टिंग जो स्टील, ऑटो और आपका जो भी अदर सेक्टर्स हैं, फूड में, एवरीबडी विल ट्रांजिशन फ्रॉम द एग्जिस्टिंग टू ग्रीन। और उसका एक एडवांटेज और है कि जो अक्रॉस दी वर्ल्ड, नाइका ने अभी अनाउंस किया है, जो वर्ल्ड की काफ़ी बड़ी कंपनी है, उन्होंने अनाउंस किया है कि वो अपने जो वेंडर हैं उनसे वही वेंडर से प्रोडक्ट लेंगे जो कि अपना ESG कंप्लाइंट है। विद इन आई थिंक 2 years दे विल मेक इट कंपलसरी। देयर आर थाउजेंड्स ऑफ वेंडर्स अक्रॉस दी वर्ल्ड, इंडिया में भी काफ़ी वो सप्लाई ले रहे हैं। तो ये ट्रांजिशन जो होगा वो एक इट्स नॉट कि कंपनीज अपने आप कर रही हैं, लेकिन उनको बड़ी कंपनीज के वजह से उनको करना भी पड़ रहा है। तो ये बहुत बड़ा मोमेंटम है जो अभी हम देख रहे हैं, वो शायद 10% ही है। अभी इसका 10 टाइम्स अभी होना है, जो कि मेरे 2-3 सालों में हमें पता लगेगा कि क्या चीज़ निकल के आ रही है। उसके बेसिस पे और फाइनेंस की रिक्वायरमेंट पड़ेगी हमारी।
सेबी ने अभी एक नया इनिशिएटिव लॉन्च किया जिसमें उन्होंने ESG रेटिंग के लिए बात कर रहे हैं। जैसे अभी RBI ने, रेगुलेटर ने कह दिया कि अप टू 50 करोड़ तक की बैंक आज के दिन में क्रेडिट रेटिंग नहीं मांगती, लेकिन अब बैंकर धीरे धीरे करके जो भी आप किसी भी सेक्टर में, आप चाहे कपड़ा का काम कर रहे हो, लोहे का काम कर रहे हो, आपको हो सकता है कि ग्रीन से कोई लेना देना नहीं हो, उसके बावजूद भी यदि आपको ESG रेटिंग करानी पड़ेगी। ESG रेटिंग यदि आप कराते हैं तो आपको पैसे मिलने में आसानी होगी और आपको कहीं ना कहीं रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट में भी कम मिलेगा। तो हम आपको इंसेंटिवाइज ये कर रहे हैं कि सर आप कुछ भी बिजनेस कर रहे हो, आप ESG रेटिंग तो करा लीजिए। तो धीरे धीरे करके हम वो बाकी के इंडस्ट्री जिनको लगता है कि हमको ग्रीन से कोई मतलब नहीं है, उनको भी हम धीरे धीरे करके वो अवेयरनेस की तरफ लेके आ रहे हैं। तो रिसर्जेंट इंडिया ने भी ESG रेटिंग का लाइसेंस लिया है, जिससे कि हमको ये लगता है कि हम हर जितनी भी तरह की जो इंडस्ट्री जो ग्रीन से वास्ता ना भी रखती है, उसको भी हम ESG रेटिंग करा के उसको हम लोग कम रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट में हम उसको पैसा दिला सकते हैं सर।